You may have to explain to these Gen Z guys what a fullback is.
Fullback is.
They're watching the NFL and they go, "What is this fullback?"
What is a fullback? Yeah, yeah. Now,
But I mean,
now you
there's
see a
still a
lot
couple
of
of them out there.
no question. I mean, now you see kind of guys who are tight ends. Replace some tight end and fullback. Because they can kind of do.
Right.
Those body types can do a little bit of both. So, there are still some, but very few. But you can go down to FCS football and see quite a bit of it because I love watching really good FCS football. So there's a lot of programs still pounding the rock, still using a true fullback.
Another Duly Noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. Okay, welcome into another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Dooley Dome Gator Studios. We appreciate everybody, all of our great sponsors, and we're going to have room for one more, actually, because somebody is dropping out. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but and they're for a good reason. The business is being sold, and that's okay. Today's show will be a fun one. Ernest Graham is going to join us. We'll talk to him about his new job as the Santa Fe head coach, and they've got a golf tournament coming up. We'll plug that, and I'm helping out a lot of people with golf tournaments because we didn't have ours this year there's a number of reasons, but I'm trying to, help out. So, in fact, I'm actually going over to Adams Rib tomorrow to pick up some gift certificates, and of course, while I'm there, I will eat lunch. It's a rule. I have to do it. Anyway, Ernest Graham is our guest today. Coach Spurrier on Monday. I mentioned that on who knows what he'll say on Monday. We'll talk about that in a minute. But Thursday, Christy Dosh next week will join us and maybe give us a little bit of a primer on NIL, and maybe she can explain some of this stuff to us. And then we'll go from there. It's almost June or July, guys. It's unbelievable how fast it goes. But also today is kind of a special day for me and my wife because today is our 26th wedding anniversary. We did a lot for our 25th. I don't know if there's going to be much today. I think we're just going out to a couple of happy hours and just be ourselves. But I appreciate her. I tell you, Brian Wilson knew how to write that song based on what my wife would end up being. I don't know how he could see the future. He was clairvoyant. But God only knows what I'd be without her. And I have no idea. I wouldn't be here probably. In fact, I pretty much am sure of that. Anyway, I love her very much, and she is the best thing that's ever happened to me. Not that my first wife was bad, believe me. She was great too. That was a me problem, as most things are in this world. All right, so let's go ahead and get on to our Royal Blues starting five. Randy Royal bringing it to you. We love our Royal Blue, the place to go if you need a boat, man. They've got some great ones over there. All right, let's get to our Royal Blue starting five. Number one was the draft last night, of course. Last night was, Cooper Flagg went first, which everybody knew was going to happen. And I think he's going to be a great player. Is he going to be an MVP? I don't know. Is he going to be one of the great players of all time? I don't know. I think he's going to be a really good player. It's a good pick, but and there were some surprises in the first round, but all we really cared about was Walter Clayton. We wanted to see where Walter went. And we were just, because we'd heard first round, all the mock drafts had him in the first round, and it was important. Now, again, he's the 13th first round pick in Florida history, so it's not like we've never gone through this before. Neil Walk did it. It was the number 2 pick in the draft that year. Obviously the 3 and of the guys that were the 04 guys, 3 of those guys in the 07 draft were picked in the first round. So, but the point is that Walter went to Utah. Utah traded up to get him. That tells you how much they think of him. You know what we think of him. Utah is a weird pick. I mean, I think they got Ace Bailey. Was that who they got early? And he didn't look like he wanted to go to Utah, but I think Walter's just thrilled to be a first round draft pick. Think about what his life has been the last few months. If you want to go back to a year, go back to the birth of his child, which was, a big deal. Then, he is the first team All-American in the history of the University of Florida basketball. You got that going for you. You graduated in the spring. You got that going for you. You've got this family with a child. You got that going for you. You were the most valuable player of the Final Four. That's about as good of a award. I think that's better than being first team All-American. And then you were a first round draft pick in the NBA draft. Little pudgy guy that nobody thought was going to end up being anything. Couldn't play defense at Iona. Figured out how to play better defense here. Figured out how to be a ball handler here. Give credit to when we talk about developing players, and we talked about that on the radio a little bit this week about Mike White. Talk about Todd Golden and his staff and how they developed Walter Clayton. Walter Clayton came in here, and we were like, okay, yeah, he might be pretty good. He was at Iona, he scored a lot of points. And the first year you watched him play, you were like, man, I love Walter Clayton, but he can't play defense, and he's not a good ball handler. What did he do? He went and got better at everything. This is a guy who is on the right path, and I think that is so important for everybody. And we all love Walt. We love him. Last night, Todd Golden was on TV, and he said, I still think he's the best player in the country last year. And I look, I'm not going to argue that. Cooper Flagg, we all knew and sometimes if you're going to be the first pick in the draft, you have a leg up on being player of the year. Now, I'm not saying Cooper Flagg wasn't the best player. I'm not saying, Janae Broom was tremendous. And if not for that injury, I think he'd have been the player of the year. But the bottom line is the way it kind of goes with draft. Now, think about this. Janae Broom still isn't drafted, probably won't be drafted till late in this second round. It'll be today. But just, I don't know. I'm a little surprised that people undervalue him, especially when you look at some of the guys that did get drafted in the first round. I'm still, that Colin Murray Boyles thing just baffles me, and it wasn't a surprise he went as high as he did. I love him as a player, as a college player. There's a big difference between loving a guy as a college player and thinking he's going to be a good pro. I mean, is a 6'6" back to the basket? Now, I know he can shoot threes too, and maybe he will turn into that, but you're talking about a wing guy, basically, if you're 6'6". We'll see. I mean, look, he is a skilled basketball player. I just don't see it in the NBA. I've been proven wrong before, and I'll be proven wrong again. Anyway, congrats to Walt. Walt, if you get by any of the golf courses, I'll be happy to take you out and we'll go play and have a couple beers, man. Love that guy very much, and I know everybody was happy. It was such a big deal. My daughter went to a draft party to watch Walter get drafted. That's how big a deal it was. All right, that is number one, the number one story in Gainesville, no doubt about that. Number two, watching the draft last night. Now, I'll get to that in a moment. I didn't watch it all, to be honest with you, but it was interesting. The Nets had a historic number of, I should say, no, ahistoric. See, I always say it right, and then I try to correct myself. It's ahistoric. It starts with an H. Some reason I got a mind block about that. Anyway, it was ahistoric night for the Nets, who had 5 first-round picks, and they kept them all and used them all. 4 guards and Danny Wolf. I like that draft. I don't like some of these guys that come over from Europe. You don't know. Most of them turn out to be pretty good. Some of them are flashes. Some of them, but you look at Jokic and all these other guys are just incredible. And going back to Dirk Nowitzki and guys like that. So I know there's a lot of people really happy with their drafts, and I think the Nets are one of those teams that should be happy. They're not going to win a bunch of games, and that's the other thing that, like, everybody's putting odds and doing all this stuff, and I'm like, okay, we'll see. We'll see who's healthy. Like the Mavericks, Kyrie Irving. I don't know when he's going to be back. It won't be the beginning of the year, so we'll see. Anyway, it was interesting to say the least. All right, let's get to number 3 on our Royal Blue starting 5, and that is that my buddy Joe Leonardo came out with he called it a way too early top 25. Now, the way too early needs to go away. Okay. I've said that before. I'm not saying you shouldn't do them. I love lists. I love rankings. I don't care if you want to do another one tomorrow and it's different. That's fine with me. Just quit calling it way too early, because it's not way too early, because you're doing it. This Schleybaugh started that. And the first time he did it, it was really cute and kept it going. And now everybody's got a way too early. I used to do a way too early. But it's not way too early. It's never too early to do any rankings. And he's got Florida as the top seed in next year's college basketball, the NCAA tournament, the number 1 seed, not a number 1 seed, the number 1 seed. And that tells you about the roster construction that Todd Golden has done. To get all those guys that they got, Xavier Lee, Boogie Fland, and obviously you're bringing in Ingram and you're bringing in Lloyd, and you've got all these guys coming back in your front court set. I mean, I'm excited about Gator basketball next year, and he is too. And if you're the number 1 seed overall, guess what you get to do? Go play in Tampa. So, that's the fun thing. Tampa is one of the sites next year. And I was there when that Irving Walker team. Remember Irving Walker? They were playing against UCLA, and they had a guy that was 6'10", 390, I think it was, and maybe he wasn't that big. He was huge. He was a big guy, and Irving ran right into him and almost knocked himself out, but he got called for a foul. The other guy got called for a foul, and there were 2 big free throws at the end of that game. So that was UCLA. That was interesting. Anyway, the point is that is the level of expectation that Florida is facing in basketball. They're already look, it was one thing for that 07 team to face that, and they struggled with it. As you know, we've talked about that a lot. They struggled with the expectations. This team is going to have the same kind of expectations and not have all 5 starters back, which that team did. They had everybody back, and that was the reason everybody put them number 1. This team's going to have to fill slots. We have to see about chemistry. It seems like it's working pretty well. If you read, I talked about Chris Harry's story on the workouts and everything that's on FloridaGators.com. But we'll see. There are a lot of expectations. It is a weight. I'm not saying it's a insurmountable weight, but it's a weight, and how you deal with it, what you do. We've talked about this before. Billy Donovan's had, I think it was Harry Edwards that came in, or somebody that came in. He had a lot of people speak to his team. And the point was, you're trying to go up the same mountain, but you can't take the same path. You got to roll the ball up a different path. And that's what this team will have to do. It may be a little bit easier to understand that because you don't have everybody back. But anyway, expectations are, I don't know. This is a fun time for Gator basketball. And thank you, Todd Golden, for that. I appreciate it. All right. Let us move along to number 4 on our Royal Blue starting 5. And we talk about expectations and DJ Lagway's expectations, because everybody is talking about it and everybody is commenting on it and everybody is calling me and wanting me to come on radio. And I've done a bunch of shows, and which is fine. I love doing them. Look, I'm always asking people to come on mine, so I never turn down anybody that needs me to come on. But there are 2 questions that almost everybody, pretty much everybody, asks. Number 1, DJ Lagway's shoulder. How is it? And I always tell them, look, it's not just his shoulder. It's a lower body issue too. That's why he couldn't throw, because he couldn't push off, blah, blah, blah. He's going to be fine. Doesn't mean he won't get hit in it and get hurt again. And that happens. It happens in every sport where you have a shoulder injury and then and it heals, and then you get hit on it again. It's easier. Like when you dislocate your shoulder, I've never done that, but I've been told that when you dislocate your shoulder and they pop it back in, it's easy to pop it back out again. So anyway, my point is, everybody wants to know about him because everybody also understands Florida is tied into DJ Lagway. That's the only way they're going to have a chance to make the playoff, right? That would be what I would say. Florida can make the playoff if DJ Lagway stays healthy. They can if he doesn't. Pretty simple. So that's one question. And the other question is, well, if they go 5-7 and they let Billy Napier go, who's the next coach going to be? And I'm like, I have no idea. I'm not even thinking that way. I don't know what's going to happen this year. And I had somebody who's a friend of mine who's a coach, and we were talking about this, and we were talking about how Florida has got to figure out how to be a better road team. Because that's the only, and again, I've talked about this many times, Florida's road schedule is really, really tough. You saw, I think it was Saturday Down South, ranked the schedules in the SEC, and Florida had the #1 toughest schedule. And the reason is because all those home games are road games now. You got to go to Ole Miss, you got to go to A&M, you got to go to Miami. But even within the SEC, you've got to win some road games, and that's not been what Florida's done. And to be honest with you, I looked it up because I was curious what that road record has looked like under Billy Napier. And if you count neutral site games, which would be 2 bowl games as well, they're 6-13 away from the swamp. And that's not good. They've lost too many games away from the swamp. And I know, hey, look, I'm the guy that'll stand up and go, it is hard to win in these environments in college football, but it's certainly not impossible. And if you're good enough and you got a roster put together, again, this is why I talk about it all the time, and I'm going to talk about it with all these Gator clubs and everything. This is Billy Napier's put up or shut up year. You know, we appreciate what you've done with the players. We appreciate what you've been able to do with structuring their lives and making them better. We appreciate your efforts with Des Watson, although they didn't really work. He's 466 now, I was told, which is actually, he's dropped weight since he left here. But you've got to transfer to the field, man. And if you don't, it's going to be time to say, well, maybe this just isn't working. 5-7, as somebody said to me the other day, yeah, there's no doubt. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to be good enough, smart enough, and darn gone it, people like them. Now, that's an old Stuart Smalley thing. I think the season is going to go good. But my thing is, there's a great joke or line that Marv Levy used to tell his team, and I've said this before, that he's talking about, you know why the Nazis and Hitler did not win the war? Because they couldn't win on the road. And that's a good line, but that's the key to anything. You got to win on the road. Basketball, baseball, football. You need to win on the road, man. That's what has to happen. All right, that is number 4 in our Royal Blues starting 5. Let's get to number 5. And this was weird yesterday. All of a sudden, my podcast is blowing up all over the place, and I'm like, and people are retweeting. And I went, oh, here's what it is. And it's something the coach said on Monday, which is very harmless, to be honest with you. But, of course, when you say things about people in Texas are going to react. But it's a great line. We talked about it. I think I laughed when he said it. But that Texas is being picked to win it all. Arch Manning's already being given the Heisman. And he said, I'm paraphrasing him here, that if he was so good, why did Quinn Ewers start the whole year? He was a 7th round pick. And that was, of course, everybody is no, this is a case. Ewers was better. This is why we love having the coach on, because he says what he thinks. He's brutally honest, and I love that. And anybody who wants to react, they're all jealous of me because I get to talk to them every Monday. That's the bottom line, man. And believe me, I appreciate it that I get that every Monday. I've had people say to me, "Look, we know one thing we need to do on Mondays. We need to listen to your podcast and then write a story off it." And I've seen multiple stories all over the place on another Duly Noted podcast. So that's what you're getting if you advertise with me. People all over the state place clicking on it, saying, "I got to hear what Spurrier said," every Monday. All right. All right, that's going to do it for our Royal Blue starting five. I hope you will looking forward to our guest today, Earnest Graham, who is now the head coach at Santa Fe High School, but of course, one of the great Gator running backs. In fact, I got a little tidbit for you on that. We'll get to him when we come back. This is another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios.
No, growing up in Gainesville, definitely different, especially having the University of Florida there. It was basically like a dream of everybody's, growing up to just have an opportunity to play at the University of Florida. So everybody doesn't have that, the opportunity to do so. So I just feel like me being able to give back to the city that helped me, become the player and the person I am today. It's like, why not just go back and give back? You just become a great person, not just a great athlete or not just a great teacher or anything, just a great person in general, having those attributes and those type of characteristics just help people just become better people. So that's what I'm trying to do, help the youth just become great.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Meldon Law has been serving personal injury victims since 1971. In those days, Jeffrey Meldon's presence as an attorney in the music scene dubbed him with the nickname the Hippie Attorney. And although times have changed, two things haven't: our commitment to bettering our community by helping the injured.
Albert, are you ready to go to the game?
And our love for the Florida Gators.
If you bleed orange and blue, Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Hey, let's talk about something that's been a real game changer for many people, including me. BMI TeleMed is one of our sponsors. They're the weight loss specialists and can help you tackle that stubborn belly fat. The kind that usually creeps up once you hit your 40s. Bob Parado and Charlie Gonzalez, two UF-trained pharmacists, work with their medical director to prescribe and deliver the same meds that helped me lose 50 pounds. Yep, 50 pounds. That belly fat, it's not just about looks. It's unhealthy and makes you feel sluggish. Now is the time to do something about it before football season rolls around again. If you're anywhere in Florida, BMI TeleMed, simple online telehealth platform, makes it easy. Your weight loss meds get delivered right to your door fast. From my experience, you feel full sooner, eat less, but can keep enjoying the foods that you love, just in smaller portions. Plus, it helps with blood sugar and cravings. Do yourself a favor, head to bmitelemed.com to set up a free private consultation. No obligations, no contracts. These Gators know their stuff. You'll look better, feel better, and be healthier. Visit bmitelemed.com today. Okay, welcome back to another Duly Noted podcast brought to you by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. It is a great pleasure to bring on one of the great running backs of all time at the University of Florida and the head coach at Santa Fe High School. Earnest Graham joins us. How are you doing, buddy? How you been?
I'm doing good. How y'all doing today?
How is it going with being a high school head coach now?
It's going
before, right?
I have. It's going, very well. I had, two previous stints as a head coach. The first one was at North Fort Myers High School. The other one was at Evangelical Christian School in Fort Myers. So I did the first one for 4 years, the second one for 3 years, and I took breaks in between, and now I'm back at it. So it's a lot, but it's very rewarding. Santa Fe High School, city of Alachua, and High Springs, this area is very, very proud community that we pull from. So it's been fun. It's been a ton of support. Kids working hard. I couldn't be more grateful.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, there was a time when, as we know, Santa Fe was a power. I mean, the Petersons and
Yeah.
all the great players. I mean, there was a pipeline from there to Florida.
Right. Yeah.
But I'm sure you'd like to get that pipeline going again.
That would be great. So it's a lot of really good, obviously football players that, come up in this area. And, as things have, changed a bit so kids can, somewhat go to any school they want. So a lot of our kids get pulled from, this area. And we're, first and foremost looking to get our kids, to stay here in the community. We do have a number of youth leagues here. Also, restore and boost the youth league, involvement and structure here, in the area. Typically, that leads to good high school football.
Yeah, and you've got a population boom going on there too. And there's a lot of things moving out there, and that can only be good for Alachua and Santa Fe, the Santa Fe High School.
No question. No, it's a great time to be here. I always say that, God's timing is not, really by accident. And, so to be here at this time and, I feel chosen to, to be here at this time and to be used, as an instrument, to help, bring along, this community. So, I'm up for it. My family's up for it, and we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun, and I know we'll be watching how you guys do out there. But I do know also you got a golf tournament coming up next month. I mean, when I say next month, we're almost in the.
We're almost there, yeah. Yeah. So July 19th at Turkey Creek. It's a scramble. Start at 9 a.m. here. So, obviously that's our first one here as a program. The other programs we is always normal for high school programs to have a golf tournament, and it's always fun for the community. It's a great way to raise money. Be social, compete, have, a good time. So, we got our first one here, as a program. So anyone who, wants to be involved, wants to come out for a day of golf and wants to help this, Santa Fe football program, wants to play here, at Turkey Creek, in a great community. I mean, there's great stories behind, all of it. There's great stories about the resurgence of our program. Great stories about the resurgence of, the Turkey Creek, community and golf course here. So it's a fun thing, to be a part of. I played for the first time last night in kind of a Wednesday night scramble. So it was my first time playing, here at Turkey Creek. So, I got a mix of, the stories about, obviously the golf course, not being here and being down, and then, obviously, a number of people rallying to get it done. So, it's going to be a fun day on July 19th, and anyone who wants to be involved is welcome.
Yeah, what's the cost for that? So just so people know.
Yeah, it's $125, per golfer. That's math, 500 per foursome. Yeah. So it's a good time. Like I said, Turkey Creek is obviously, they support our school because it's a community school here. So, a good portion of that is going to the football program.
Well, that's good, and that's a way to you're right, to raise money, and that's the thing. You don't have to you have to worry about that kind of stuff. The coaches in college right now are having to worry about getting NIL money.
That's right.
They're having to hit their boosters up.
That's right. You definitely, it's it's not as simple as when we were young, so it's a lot of traveling, it's a lot more camp involvement, so there's a lot of things that you need, the resources to do. And I'm grateful because we do have a great support here. I'm not just pushing the cart uphill by myself. The community is really supporting the program, and this is one of the many fundraisers that we're going to have. So we try to hit all three phases for our boys. So we have our character development portion. Obviously we have our academics, and then we have both them being as a student athlete. And there's a number of things. We got a lot of great volunteers. A lot of people help donate a lot of their time and resources to the program. But it also takes capital to obviously get it done. So this is one of the ways that we're doing it, and there'll be other opportunities as well.
But do you have any players? Is what I want to know.
Well, we have some really good players. There, I'm not. There are good players here. I'm not. So for us, we're just coming in, and And, it starts in the weight room. Our kids, listen to our message. And, during the spring, we had almost 100%, involvement and attendance, in the weight room. So the guys got, strong in the spring. Obviously, if you're in the weight room, you're going to get more confidence and, it's going to lead to more physical play out, on the football field. So, we had a pretty good outing in the spring game. Not to say winning the spring game is everything, but it did point to the fact that, we're up to play physical football, and we didn't have any penalties, did not turn the ball over. So it was just fun to do the base and fundamental things that lead to winning football games.
Well, the question is there an Ernest Graham on the team?
That we got him now. We have a really good young running back in Josiah Powell. We also Kimarion, who's our second back, kind of our scat, do it all tight back. He's a heck of a player. We have a really good young quarterback in Kieran Whitesides. We've got really phenomenal and a defense with a great motor led by, Coach Jason Powell. Coach Carl Harmon is our offensive coordinator. I've got some, help on the offensive line, obviously from Cooper Carlisle, who Gator fans will know. And we also have, two other coaches, Jim Carpenter and Don Orth, who've been around the program for a while. So we've got an, excellent staff and great community guys, who will help, coaching our program and our team.
I'm glad you got Cooper out of the house, man. I worry about him because he's out there in Jonesville and he just, he's tired. He doesn't have he needs something to do. So
yeah, he is, and we're trying to get more guys to help. I mean, he's out there. He's sharp, man. He's obviously you don't play that long if you don't get it upstairs. Sure. He still runs around. We were doing drills the other day. We were trying to put in some outside zone, and he had to demonstrate it. I mean, you should see his feet. The way that he moved. No wonder that he played over a decade. In the NFL. So.
I think that's exactly why. He was a smart player, and his footwork was incredible.
Oh, it was amazing.
Yeah, played forever, and really, obviously, made a lot of money. Now he's got pension money coming in. But you played for a long time as well with the Bucks, and what did you have? 6 years?
9, actually. Yep,
9. Okay.
Yep, 9 seasons with the same team.
I got shortchanged you there. Sorry about that.
No, it's all good. No, I got credit for that first year. So I was up, on the, the practice squad, for most of the year. And, within that next year, I got my shot. And, obviously it started, with special teams. I got a chance, to start at, halfback, for a couple of years there. I don't think most people even realize it's mostly a fullback, in the NFL. So I was mostly a hybrid. Kind of a hybrid player in the NFL in the West Coast system. So I think I was very fortunate, to play for John Gruden. I think he had a vision, for me as a player. When I came in the door, I'd been a tailback at the University of Florida. I played mostly defense in high school. Not mostly defense. I played a lot of defense in high school. I started at linebacker before I started at, running back. So I did have some experience tackling, but I didn't play special teams, at the University of Florida. So, I had to come in and make my way through special teams. I had to play fullback, and it helped that I was in, the West Coast system and knew it from 2 positions. So every year, I could be on the roster as both a fullback and a tailback. And, when you're trying to run a business, that's a good thing. You have a guy who can, play 2 positions and play them well. So I was very fortunate. And that's what kept me with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for quite some time.
You may have to explain to these Gen Z guys what a fullback is.
Fullback is.
They're watching the NFL and they go, "What is this fullback?"
What is a fullback? Yeah. Now,
there's still a couple of them out there.
No question. I mean, you see kind of, guys who are tight ends, replace some tight end and fullback, because they can kind of do. Right. Those body types can do a little bit of both. So, there are still some, but very few. But you can go down to FCS football and see quite a bit of it because I love watching really good FCS football. So there's a lot of programs still pounding the rock, still using a true fullback.
Ernest Green coming to us on the Big Mills Cheesesteaks Zoom line. I did want to ask you about Miles, and obviously I'm sure he's having a great summer, and we're excited about watching him play this year. Obviously, he's stepping in for I don't know if he's actually playing the same position as Shamar was last year, or is
he? He's playing the same position.
Yeah, and those are big shoes to fill. I know you knew that.
Those are huge shoes to fill. I mean, it's a great culture there in the building. So they brought him along. I mean, he's got a chance to play behind Shamar, be mentored. Obviously by Shamar and the other guys also. In that room. They have a great group of linebackers that are there. So there's some older guys in the group that are still there. So he got a chance. They did a great job with him. Bringing him along slow, but it was time for him to obviously contribute. Getting a chance to play in some big competition, which makes him ready for this year. So it was fun to really watch him. He hasn't. I wouldn't say he's coming to his own yet, but to jump out there, get his feet wet and SEC action. I mean, that's a big jump from Buchholz High School to Georgia. So it was fun to see him get out there and play. Use some of his natural ability to make plays, but also to play within the scheme and do well. So all the communication I get from the staff is that he's being a leader. He gets the calls in. He knows how to think the game. So it's fun to watch him. To come along.
I bet it's a lot of
Yeah.
fun to watch him. I'm wondering because Big Dez got a carry last year. I wonder if they're going to give Miles a carry because he was a great running back in high school.
Thank you. Yeah, he you know what? They've got great backs. Obviously, we know they have some phenomenal backs. And they have a number of backs that have his skill set. I always tell them to also always keep yourself sharp. Because I've always try to preach an athletic mindset. So I tell them, hey man, when you're doing those linebacker drills, do running back drills. You have time. Carry the football. You never know if you have a chance to carry the football
Sure.
again, but keeping those skills sharp and keeping those instincts sharp. You never know. What opportunity might come about. So he could do it if need be.
Yeah. Hey, do you have to deal with NIL in high school at all? Do you have guys that come to you and say, "Hey, I need money," or do you have guys come and want to transfer in, but they need money?
I mean, you hear about it, right? In some other, I would say in other areas, it's a much bigger, it's much bigger than here. In a lot of
Panhandle, South Florida.
Panhandle, South Florida, Georgia, Texas, different states and stuff like that. I'm sure in Hillsborough County, so we don't deal with it as much. You do hear about it. So if you've got a really good player that can obviously change the team, and people get creative, so people
That's
get
a good
creative
way
in
to
trying to
put it.
get your players, but I haven't had any direct experience, with it. I'm sure it's coming, but in regards to our program, we haven't had any direct experience with it. But I know we try to develop our players. We try to get our players exposure. If we start playing, some really good football, our guys are going to be in demand.
Sure.
So I expect it to happen. Never happens is, whatever opportunity presents and whatever life throws at these young men, we want to prepare them for it. So if our guys get opportunities, they get opportunities, and I couldn't be happier for them.
When you were being recruited, did anybody offer you money?
No, actually not. No. I wish I see all the other stories. I see all the other guys talking about their stories and dropping money on the floor and all this stuff. I never had a single. Maybe I didn't come across as interested in that type of thing, but I never had. No, and I mean I was the top back at one of the top backs in the country. I never had any opportunity,
Yeah.
any opportunity like that. No.
Neil Anderson tells a story about how when he was being recruited, he said everybody says about how this money, everybody got all this money. He said, we spent money because we had to go get new furniture because Bear Bryant was coming to our house, so our family had to go spend money.
Exactly right.
Yeah, I mean it's a weird dynamic. All right, it is time for us to play Yes, Nowhere, Maybe with the great Earnest Graham.
Uh-oh.
Of course, it is brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteaks, street dining done the right way. If you go in there and say you listen to this, you get free French fries with your order. Okay, number one on Yes, No Way, or Maybe, you can still outdrive your son on the golf course.
Yes.
I bet you can hit it a long way.
I can.
When you catch it right.
When I catch it right. That's the key. Right now I got this, this long what is it? The long it's a pull and it's a try. I don't know. It fades right. long fade. So
it doesn't go straight, is what you're saying.
Yes. It's all over the place right now.
All right, number two on Yes, Nowhere, Maybe. People would be surprised to find out that you have more yards and more touchdowns than Fred Taylor, who's everybody wants to get into the Hall of Fame.
Yes, they would be surprised to know that.
But that's true. I mean, you're fourth on the all-time list, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was, really, obviously really about opportunity. I mean, even in the league, I was, goal line carry, short yards carry. That was kind of my, people would consider my gift, is to be able to, really efficiently move the ball, all the time, and then, finish the ball in short yardage and situations and goal line situations. So that's where all those touchdowns,
right.
come from, for
Yep.
sure.
Well, definitely in goal line, but number 3 on Yes, No, Where, Maybe, you wish with the Bucks you had caught one touchdown pass in your career.
I did catch one.
According to the record, it says 0-0-0.
Really? I caught one, actually. But they're wrong, because I caught one against.
I'll have to go look it up again.
Yeah, I caught one against the Panthers. So Carolina Panthers. I remember very, very.
Well, the Panthers don't count.
Yeah. I did catch one, though. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll go back and check that. Maybe it was at Florida that you didn't catch one. I don't think you called.
No, you know what? At Florida, I did catch one. It's Florida. I did catch one. At Florida. You're correct.
I misread my notes there. Did you call one in Florida?
I did not catch one in Florida. Wish I would have.
Well, he was going all over the place, so you never know who was going to get the next one. Ernest, it's always great talking to you anytime, whether I see you out about.
You too.
We're so excited about Miles. We're excited about Santa Fe football. Again, the tournament is July 19th.
July 19th, yes.
And you can enter
at Turkey Creek.
And what's the best way to enter? Is there a
if anyone wants to look me up on social media, you can look me up on Facebook. You can look me up on Instagram. I have some information there. We're just we're going old school. Our director of football operation is handling it, so you'll find his phone number, email, and all the information for the for the tournament. So
and you can call Turkey Creek, and I'm sure they can help you out.
Yeah, you can call Turkey Creek as well. Also, there's a Wednesday league if anybody wants to play. There's a little Wednesday scramble that goes on here.
Heard about
every
that.
Wednesday. Yeah, it's pretty fun.
I think you guys scheduled because you knew I had radio. That's why you scheduled.
Is that right?
You don't want to come
it's fun, man. So anybody wants to come out and play, it's a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. I may head out there one day. I appreciate your time, man.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
All right, we'll be back with more of another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging from the Meldon Law Gator Studios right after this break.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
At Royal Blue, we use such tools as AI, bulk email marketing, trade shows, Google search advertising, and multiple websites. We take a much more proactive approach to getting your boat sold in a timely manner. With our extensive client list and broker-dealer network, we can track down vessels that might be perfect for you and your family, that may not even be listed for sale yet, giving you the right of first refusal. We have spent the last 15 years in boat sales, observing and listening to our clients. In response to our findings, we have constructed a custom yacht brokerage that strives to fit their needs and not ours. Call us today to schedule a consultation to see what Royal Blue can do to solve all of your boating needs. Call Randy at 850-974-1294.
Coach, it always impressed me how you beat Florida State to win the 1996 National Championship.
And I was really impressed with your 06, 08, and 09 Gator teams.
And the way you coached Danny to the Heisman Trophy.
A lot like what you did with Tim Tebow.
You won more SEC championships than you lost home games at the Swamp.
And you had plenty of super games in front of our Gator Nation.
Yeah, there really is something special about the Swamp.
I guess that's why we say about the Swamp, only the Gators get out alive.
To the Swamp and the Gators, with the best beverage served at Spur's Gridiron Grill, 100% agave, Los Landeros tequila, aged in bourbon barrels for a smoother taste.
I think you mean Head Beer Coach 1966 lager, a crisp, light, bodied lager for easy drinking.
Nope, Los Landeros Tequila, smooth enough to drink neat and bold enough to elevate a cocktail.
1966 lager, enjoyed on game days in the fall or whenever you need a winning cold brew.
Los Landeros Tequila.
1966 lager.
Los Landeros.
1966 lager.
Y'all stop bickering.
Okay, you're both wrong anyway. The best thing Spurrier's Gridiron Grill offers are Jerry's famous chocolate chip cookies.
Adams Rib Company has been a staple of Gainesville for more than a decade and a staple of the Dooley house ever since Kelsey's teeth came in. The first time I walked into Adams, I told my daughter that the green beans are always a test of a great barbecue restaurant, and they were perfect. You know about the ribs that melt in your mouth, and my favorite, the turkey plate. But be sure to go in on Fridays for Nana's Fish Nuggets. They will melt in your mouth. Adams Rib Co., a Gainesville great. Okay, welcome back to another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Thanks to Earnest for coming on. We appreciate him. And he's been on before, but we love having him on. And I've talked to some people with Florida Victorious, Nick De La Torre especially, and we're trying to get a couple other current players on. We've had Trey Smack on. We're going to try to get some players on this summer, maybe before or after SEC Media Days, before they start camp. And I think I did talk to Charlie Strong yesterday, so I think he's going to join us in a couple of weeks as well. There's another guy, SEC Mike. Maybe you follow him on Twitter. I do. Has some really good content. So we're going to get him on coming up. We got a lot of guys coming up. All right, let's get to our fun stuff in segment 3, as we always do. Our Hesser and Kipke our Hesser and Kipke 3 things will open us up here on segment 3. Of course, Hesser and Kipke for all your family, law, and workers' compensation issues, 352-339-9920 or www.hklawfl.com. I've got another recommendation for Ken Hesser and Jen, too. We're watching Stick. It's pretty good. Now, again, I suggested Running Point to him, and he's kind of enjoying it, and I agree. It's good. It's not like Dexter good, or the Bears' first season, not the second season. But Stick is a golf one. It's really good. I actually like it. It's bogging down a little bit. I need it to kind of amp up. All right, here we go with Hesser and Kipke's 3 things. Number 1. The Tampa Bay Bucks. If you're a big Bucks fan, I guess this is good news. Todd Bowles signs an extension, as does Jason Licht, who is their GM. And look, they like the way things are going. I didn't even know until I talked to Charlie Strong yesterday. He's the linebackers coach for them. Defensive line coach for them. He's got big Des Watson down there. And he likes their team, and we were just talking about their team. He goes, we got to get it figured out defensively, but we're there offensively. And there's no doubt they are. And, of course, Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask. And, I think they're going to be pretty good this year. So that's good news for the Bucks. They seem to be going in the right direction. All right, let's get to number 2 on our Hesser and Kipke 3 things, and that is that Aaron Rodgers said on Pat McAfee's show, which he gets paid to be on, that this is probably it for him this year with the Steelers. And my first reaction was, good. I don't want to go through this anymore with everybody wondering, what's he going to do? He's on a different timetable than they are, all this crap. And then, but the thing that cracks him up is when he set me up, is that when he says, I'm just going to disappear. You're never even going to hear about me again. You're never going to hear from me again. I'm just going to get out of everybody's way. Yeah, right. You're going to have a podcast. You know that. Or you're going to be on McAfee's podcast and get paid for that. You're not going away. You are a seeker of publicity, right? You're the definition of there's no such thing as bad publicity in your mind. I'm not an Aaron Rodgers fan. I used to be. I'm not anymore. Anyway, my thing is if this is it, good. I'm trying to figure out what to do with the Steelers. I always kind of root for the Steelers. It goes back to Max Starks and when Ernie Mills was there and everything. I didn't really like him when they were a dynasty, just because I don't root for dynasties as a rule. But unless they're the Braves. So anyway, I like Kevin Sumlin and everything, and I like the Steelers, but I don't like Aaron Rodgers, so I don't know what to do this year. I don't know. I'll figure it out. Okay. I know you guys care really a lot. All right, let's get to number 3 on our Hesser and Kipke 3 things, and that is that the NHL is in talks in their collective bargaining agreement, and they want to go to 84 games. They were at 82, or they're at 82 right now. Of course, there's concern that if you do this, you're adding wear and tear. Then you got to start managing minutes and downtime and everything. And I guess the positive of this is that it lines up schedules better, where they're more, you get to play everybody. You're already playing everybody, but you get to play them more enough so that it's more balanced, is what I'm trying to say, which is not a bad idea. If you can add 2 games and get it more balanced, that's great. The SEC won't add 1 game and get it more balanced, and that would make the SEC more balanced. Let's face it. It would. You can't do anything about who they play in the non-conference, but anyway, that's a story for another day. All right, thanks to Hesser and Kipke for the 3 things today. Let's get to our Los Landeros smooth move of the week. Los Landeros, of course, go beyond with Los Landeros tequila. It is awesome, man. I can tell you from experience, and I know that Urban Meyer feels the same way, who is a part owner in that. Here is the smooth move of the week. You think there are top 25 and things that are coming out like Leonardo did his bracketology that are too early? Well, how about this? CBS beat everybody to the punch with their bowl list. Here's who's going to be in the bowls. Not just the playoffs, all the bowls. They've got Florida going to the Citrus Bowl and playing Michigan. Now, I will say this. Again, this is a smooth move because you get it done before anybody else does. It means 0.0, which all these lists do, and that's fine. I have no problem with 0.0. I just like to have things to talk about. I like on the radio and on this podcast, and also just things to talk about with my friends and at the quarterback club meetings. So lists are fine with me. Rankings are fine with me. But Michigan in the Citrus Bowl would not be fine with me. I don't know why. Citrus Bowl would not be a problem because they, that would mean they were at least had probably won 8 games. And 8 games, 8-4 is not a bad record for this team. It's not the record you all want. I know that. You want it to at least be 9-3, and 9-3 is in the playoff hunt. Maybe you don't get in, maybe you do. I think you do. That's what your goal is. I think the average Gator fan, the Gator fan who only sees the good thinks it's going to be 12-0, and the Gator fan who only thinks the bad thinks it's going to be 5-7. But I think you see what I'm talking about. If they're in the Citrus Bowl, that means they won enough games, and Napier's going to be back. So, and which is what I hope happens. I want Napier to be back. I want him to have another year with this structure he's put together and be able to do it. However, at the same time, he better do it this year. He better do better than he did last year. We've got to see improvement. Doesn't mean they have to make the playoffs, but it would help. Let us move along. Okay, that was our Los Landeros smooth move of the week. We appreciate Scott and Los Landeros tequila. Let's move to this, that, and the other. This, that, and the other is brought to you by Notary Joe's. To start it out, We appreciate Joseph Newton. If you need a notary who comes to you, call Notary Joe, your trusted mobile notary, serving our community with fast, reliable, and professional service. Military or veteran, you'll receive a special discount because Notary Joe proudly honors those who serve. We appreciate Joe Newton for being a sponsor of this, that, and the other, and we appreciate a longtime sponsor, Darr Schackow. We appreciate them very much. Darr Schackow Insurance. What a great job they do, and have been there for me for a long time. In fact, they were, I think, the first sponsor of the Bob Dooley Invitational. We appreciate them, and Ballyhoo Grill. Appreciate that. In fact, probably head over there tonight for a nightcap on our anniversary at Ballyhoo Grill. They do such a great job as well, and have that thing's humming now again. Appreciate all of them for this, that, and the other. All right, let's go to the NBA draft. We were all excited about it. I was excited about it. I'm like, what, is it 8 o'clock yet? And then I started watching it, and then came to that. That is that Stephen A. Smith wouldn't stop yelling. And look, I know he's making $1 trillion, and ESPN loves him, and young people seem to love him too. I don't love him. I've never liked him really, and it's just too much for me. The yelling. Stop yelling. Now, when you get to the draft, you would think, stop yelling, but he kept yelling, and he yelled all night. As a result, the other is that I did not watch much of the draft. I missed all Walter Clayton. I said I'll just wait and get up in the morning and see what happened with Walter. That's all I need to know. I love Walter, and we talked about it, but the bottom line is I couldn't listen to the yelling anymore. Now, I guess I could have done what I do with football games and turned down the sound, but then it would have seemed like, what am I watching? People talking. So I don't know. I just turned it off. I put something else on. I watched a movie, I think. Yeah. Anyway, all right. That's this, that, and the other. Brought to you by Notary Joe's, by Ballyhoo Grill, and by our good friends at Darr Schackow Insurance. Let us move along to the Gainesville Quarterback Club, which meets every Tuesday night. Still trying to set up that July meeting, which will be a lot of fun. Can't wait for that. And then, of course, Billy Donovan for the gala. The Tuesday night before the opening game, that will be a blast. We have to dress up for it. I only have one pair of pants. Well, two. I got a pair of jeans and a pair of dark pants that I wear to everything. Well, everything I have to wear pants to. There's not much I have to wear pants to, including this podcast. And I know that's grossing some people out. I wear shorts. I'm not sitting here in my underwear doing this. Does that make any sense? All right, Gainesville Quarterback Club. You need to be a member. You need to jump in on this and be a member and tell them that Pat Dooley sent you and that you watch the podcast and you want to be part of this. They meet at the Best Western every Tuesday night during football season, except during open dates, and it is fun. It is fun to be around the people, and the speakers are unbelievable. They're bringing in a bunch of them that are first rate. Kevin Carter, Alex Brown, guys like that. So can't wait. I am looking forward to this year of the Gainesville Quarterback Club. Let's move along to our Hugh Cain Allstate Mayhem Moment.
The Gator Nation is in good hands with local Allstate agent Hugh Cain. Stop by Alachua Marketplace Plaza in Alachua and get a free quote today.
All right, this was it, and this was the celebration for Walter Clayton, all the hugs. Maybe you don't consider it mayhem, but it looked a little mayhemy. But it was great, and look at the emotions that Walter is showing. Look, this guy has been an emotional guy. He's been an emotional player. He's got so many people in his corner, so many people that care about him. Great family, has his own family now. I'm just so proud of him and so happy for him. But anyway, it is our Hugh Cain Allstate Mayhem Moment. We appreciate Hugh Cain. Hugh Cain will be leaving us. Hugh is selling his business. We'll have one more Hugh Cain Allstate Mayhem Moment to end June. And he is still going to be a great friend. I'll see him a lot, believe me. But he is a great friend, and actually the other day called me from a restaurant in Cuthbert, Georgia, I think it was. that Donnell Harvey owns, and put Donnell on the phone with me. I've got Donnell's phone number now, and I'm going to give him a call. And we may be able to get him on the show this summer. That'd be great too. That's the kind of guy that Hugh Cain is. So we appreciate him very much. All right, let us move. Speaking of people we appreciate, let us move along to our Adams Rib Co. Gator of the Week. And of course, that's brought to you by Adams Rib Co., where I will be tomorrow munching. I'm gotta go. I don't know if I'm gonna go with the ribs or the nuggets, or I gotta wait till I get in there. Sometimes it's what you smell as you walk in there. Do you smell those ribs, or is it something else? Is it the green beans soaking in that ham? Oh man, it's so good there. Smells are beautiful. So our Gator of the Week is Liv McGill, and I know she was when she was announced as being able to go out for the under-19 team, but she made it. There's only a few women that do make it. Most of them are freshmen and sophomores. There are some high school kids that make it, but Liv McGill, what a great experience for her to play in the under-19 tournament and to be part of the camps and learn. These things really matter for players, especially in basketball and baseball and softball. If you can get on these teams, these under 19, or if she was on the under 18 team last year, you just get better, man. Instead of sitting around eating Cheetos, you're working hard every day to get really good. Now, I'm the only one who sits around and eats Cheetos, but that's the point. All right, Liv McGill is our Adams Rib Co. Gator of the Week. Let's move along to our Leonardo's and Millhopper quick picks. And a lot of you picked the Yankees. And the Yankees did win last night. Max Fried, dang it, he's killing me, man. We developed that guy. This is what it must feel like to lose a guy to the portal after he's like in his fourth year or third year. Max Fried went in the portal and went to the Yankees, and we developed him. Anyway, you get the point. So our Leonardo's quick pick this week, we got to stick with baseball. It's about all that's going on. We'll get to the British Open. We'll do some stuff with that. But Saturday, Phillies at Braves. You have till Saturday morning to get it in. Phillies are at the Braves. Big series for the Braves. Try to get back into this thing. They've crawled back in, but they still got to make a statement this weekend, to be honest with you. So we'll see how they do. Phillies at Braves is your Leonardo's and Millhopper quick pick. We'll pull a winner next Thursday. I've decided on that, so be ready for that when we have Christy Dosh on. Maybe we'll let her pull it. All right, let us get to our Gallo Car Wash Sponge of the Week. We appreciate our great friends at Gallo Car Wash, the place to go to get your car washed, and it's really exciting when you get in there and you take your foot off the gas, take your foot off the handles or the steering wheel. Take your foot off the brakes and just let it run you around there. It's really cool. All right, our Gallo Car Wash Sponge of the Week is Thomas Castellanos. Now, who is he? Of course, I think most of you know who he is. He will be the new quarterback at FSU. He was at Boston College. He had some things to say, and he sponged up all of the attention of this offseason so far. For me, I'm talking about college football part of it. I know where there was a draft and everything and Aaron Rodgers, but this got people's attention. First of all, he said, I tore it up in the ACC. Well, I watched your games. I liked you as a player, but you didn't tear it up. You didn't win a lot of games. Then he said that Alabama's got nothing for him on defense because Nick Saban's not there. He's not there to save him. So these are things he said on the record. Now, Alabama has got to be sitting there going, let us eliminate this guy. The old days of FSU trying to hurt quarterbacks, maybe Alabama will be the one that hurts an FSU quarterback. Not very smart to say those kind of things about a storied program. Maybe it's the level of confidence he's trying to portray to his teammates. I get that. Maybe he has confidence in the fact that they're home. It's going to be the opening of their brand new cleaned up stadium. They renovated it and renovated the press box too, I think, right? So we'll see if how that turns out for him, but he's definitely our Gallo Car Wash Sponge of the Week. He needs to get washed is what needs to happen. We need to run him through the Gallo Car Wash the train there and let him get cleaned up. All right. It is time for our BMI TeleMed Smart Move of the Week. And we appreciate BMI TeleMed. Of course, achieve and maintain. It's your weight loss specialist, 727-383-1677. If you want to get in touch with them, and if you do, and you want to be a part of this, we've had many listeners do that, 10% off. You can tell them, hey, I listened to the Dooley podcast. I want my 10% off. All right, our BMI TeleMed Smart Move of the Week was the most predictable move of all, but it was still smart. Nobody got talked out of Cooper Flagg in Dallas. Nobody said, oh, is he tall enough? Is he strong enough? Is he too young? Nobody said that. They drafted the best player in the draft, and he is the best player in the draft. I said this before. Walter Clayton's the best player in college basketball last year. You can make that argument. But Cooper Flagg is the best prospect. There's no doubt about it. And now it almost looks like a smart move to have traded Luka Doncic, which everybody was freaking out about, because you ended up with the number one pick, even though nobody in the world thought that was going to happen. But still, now it almost looks like a smart move, yet it's not a smart move. But now it is. Does any of that make sense? I don't know. Anyway, that is our BMI TeleMed Smart Move of the Week. Doing the predictable, sometimes the smart thing to do. And that's the obvious. Picking Cooper Flagg was obvious, but you did the smart move. All right, let us move along to our Swamp Games of the Weekend. Our good friends Ryan and Kyle over there at the Swamp. We appreciate them so much. Start off with mostly baseball. Friday, Dodgers at Kansas City. A chance to see Caglione against the Dodgers. That game is at 8:10 on the Major League Baseball Network, if you get that. Saturday, you have Seattle at Texas. You won't be able to see Wyatt Langford in that game because he's hurt. He's got it may be minor, and I don't think he'll be playing that game. But you can watch Cal Raleigh, who has hit 32 homers, which is unbelievable, and he's going to have the most other than Barry Bonds at the All-Star break. That game's on FS1 at 4:05. Phillies, Braves, Saturday night, 7:15 on Fox. This is the game you're betting on the Leonardo's at Millhopper Quick Picks. And then the Sunday night game, Minnesota at Detroit on ESPN at 7. Yeah, both those teams are playing really well, so I'll watch that game. Also, you got a WNBA game on Saturday, Chicago at LA at 4 o'clock on ESPN. The Rocket Mortgage Tournament, I'm not going to pump it up too much. It's on the Golf Channel, and it will be on CBS later in the week. Everybody's dropping out of it. I think Finau today did. It's just everybody's trying to get ready for the British Open. It's not one of those must-see tournaments. I'm hoping it's interesting enough to watch. Anyway, that's going to do it. Those are our Swamp Games of the weekend. That's going to do it for our show. We appreciate everybody. We appreciate all of our great sponsors, and we certainly appreciate our listeners and people who call in. And we appreciate, not call in, but glance in, watch it. That's what I'm trying to say. People who watch it. And we appreciate all of our great guests. We'll be back with another show on Monday. Coach Spurrier will be in. Who knows what's coming? I got to bait him a little bit, don't I? Hey, Coach, do you really think Arch Manning is only this big a deal because of who his uncles were? Get him start talking about Peyton. Nah, I wouldn't do that. You know me better than that. All right, we'll be back with more on Monday. It'll be a lot of fun. We'll have a lot to talk about. Until then, I am Pat Dooley, and I am deep, I am way back, and I am out of here.